Hey, it's Mark Goldberg from Mark Vlogs Watches. Quick wristwatch check. I'm wearing a Breitling, and you're going to complain about the handheld. You're going to complain about these stupid things, but I'm going to turn the camera around so you quit complaining about that sort of stuff. Give me a second. We'll figure that out. Okay, so you're going to spend the rest of this video looking at my Breitling. Now, you might ask, why am I wearing a Breitling? And I have entitled this video, Should I Take My Rolex Watch Off at TSA Airport Security? Yet, you're looking at a Breitling. Well, I don't want to say that it's clickbait, but I want to say, this is a funny little thing, that anything on YouTube with the word Rolex in the title and the description is just going to outperform um, the word Breitling. And generally speaking, I think this is fair enough because almost always I'm wearing a Rolex when I travel. And so I want to talk a little bit about the whole issue of TSA. This can be kind of a mixed bag for travelers or people who don't travel constantly but wear a Rolex watch or an expensive luxury watch. This can be kind of an intimidating issue. So let me tell you how I feel about this. Now, I see in the comments that people are already answering the question by saying, no, you should not take off your Rolex at airport security. And I am, in general, in agreement with this option. Okay? I am in agreement with this. So first, let me tell you what I do. You have to understand that I'm one of the fortunate people that has TSA security pre-check. So for those of you in the United States, that's basically the princess line for security. You don't have to take off your shoes. You don't have to take out your liquids and gels. It's just you've been pre-checked, pre-vetted, pre-fisted, if you will, and therefore you don't really have security is not as much of a burden. Um, why is this important? It's important because those of you who have to go through regular security could face a giant security line, and if they tell you to take off the Rolex and you haven't left time for that hand pat down, you might find yourself missing your flight. So it's a really, this is a judgment call. But in general, let me tell you what I do. First of all, I get to the airport really early, and that's because I don't like to be a rushed traveler. So I go to the airport really early, and I make sure that I have taken out of my pockets literally everything. I know they remind you to do that, but so many people forget. So take everything out of your pockets. You don't even want a piece of paper in your pocket. And that's because they might send you through a body scanner, which would detect that. If they send you through a metal detector, it wouldn't so much matter, but you don't really know what's going to happen. And your goal is to get through this security checkpoint with your Rolex and your dignity and your fisting orifice intact. Okay, so the first thing I do is I make sure that I have all metal off. Now, when I travel internationally and I'm carrying cash, I wear a money belt. And I just bought it on Amazon. It was super cheap. It's a belt with a zippered compartment where you can roll up and carry cash. So the key point about that, however, is the belt buckle is plastic, so that you can wear it right through even the metal detectors. Otherwise, if you have any kind of a belt with a buckle, you want to take it off. Even if you guys have TSA security pre-check, which some of you in the comments we're live guys, so that's how come I'm reading comments live. So even if you have TSA security pre-check, you're going to want to remove your belt because it's got metal in it. Those metal detectors can be set at varying levels of sensitivity, and I suspect they pick up total metal content. So if they're having a day where they've put these things up kind of sensitive, and you have a watch on and you have a belt on, you might exceed the limit. Okay, and this has happened to me, and I'll tell you the story of what I've done. But also, if you have metal grommets on your shoes or boots, if you have metal in your shoes, even if they're telling you don't take your shoes off, take them off. The reason is that your goal is to keep that Rolex on. Now, let me tell you really quickly what to do if you have decided for whatever reason that you want your Rolex off. Okay, the thing that you want to do is you want to pack it into your backpack or your hand luggage before you are at the TSA security checkpoint. You don't want anybody, including TSA officers, to see you take off a watch and stuff it into your bag. You want to have done that before. And then what you want to do is you want to use a zip tie to close that bag, have a nail clipper in an alternative pocket of your carry-on so that once you're through TSA security, you can clip that zip tie right off. If you carry scissors or a knife, you're going to be in for worse problems, but a nail clipper's fine. Just clip off that zip tie and then retrieve your Rolex. If they need to open your bag for whatever reason, they're going to pull it aside and make a big stink and a production about it. And either they will remove that zip tie or they will ask you to do so. But what you've done is you've made the quick sleight of hand, you've made the quick theft for outsiders or TSA personnel, you've made that impossible, and that's your goal. Okay. Um, on one occasion, well, let me just back up a quick second. I have never set off the metal detectors except for one occasion. I've gone through metal detectors many times, wearing only a Rolex watch for my whole metal content. If you have necklaces and stuff like that, I'd probably stick those in my backpack unless those were particularly expensive. But otherwise, I've gone through, and I don't wear a neck chain myself, so I've gone through security hundreds of times, and I've never set off the metal detector except for one time. And the female TSA agent handed me a plastic dog food bowl and instructed me to take my Rolex Deep Sea Dweller James Cameron edition, my $13,000 watch, and has asked me to plop it into a plastic dog food bowl so that she can run it through the x-ray machine with dozens and dozens and dozens, hundreds maybe of people passing by. And I said no. I said I would like to request I refused. I'd like to request a hand pat. Well, she lost her marbles right then and there. She starts yelling, "We have a refusal! We have a refusal here! Mail pat down! Mail pat down! Step aside, sir!" I mean, she went kind of nutty on me. But here was the thing: I didn't care. I'm very polite and respectful. They do not have an easy job to do. They deal with a lot of nutballs. Maybe she was at the end of her shift. I don't know. But she was not having a good day. But here was the thing: I was 2 hours ahead of flight time. And therefore, I knew that even if they stuck me in a line and ignored me and punished me by making me stand there for 20 minutes, that it wouldn't matter. I wasn't going to have any issue with my flight. But I'll tell you what, if I would have been close to flight time, this would have been a much more agonizing decision for me. Because if you opt to exercise your right for a hand pat down, they can make it hard on you by causing delays. They're not going to listen. I've never encountered a situation where they've been deliberately unprofessional, rough, scary, that kind of thing. In fact, once I went through TSA with a buddy who actually forgot all forms of ID, and so he had to. You can't bluff your way through that, guys. But they do have a process that they can put you through if you have zero ID. It's just a really big nasty process that causes quite a lot of delay. And those guys were extremely professional about all that. So I have nothing negative to say about TSA, law enforcement personnel, ICE, Border Patrol, any of these guys who deal with passing you through the borders or the airports, you know. But you have a right to a pat down if you don't want to take off your watch. And I did not want to take off my super expensive watch and run it through security as a standalone item with hundreds of people nearby. Didn't want to do it. So after the TSA agent set up quite a fuss, she stuck me in a corner and I stood there for about 10 minutes. Now, 10 minutes is long enough to stand all by yourself, whereas the average traveler is going to flip out. Okay, the average traveler has cut his corners too close, is very close to flight time, and is really worrying in terms of whether they're going to make the flight. And I don't worry about such things because I'm bloody early. Okay, so what I did in this instance was I just stood there, and within about 15 minutes, along comes a male agent who feels me everywhere, and he explains to me that this is going to be. He was real polite, real nice. And he said, this is going to be an enhanced pat down, and I'm going to touch your sensitive areas, and I will do that with the back of my hand. If at any point you feel uncomfortable, you want to stop, you tell me, but you have to go through this entire process. Then I would have to start over. Guys, this investigation and examination of my personal space and my personal body was so incredibly thorough that, quite frankly, I felt like I should tip when it was all over. I've never been touched so much without having to tip. And that whole process took about, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes for the pat down. Wasn't real long, but it certainly was not a casual, touch. And then he also pulled me aside after that and let me know that he was going to have to go through all of my personal carry-on belongings that I was bringing through, and that took an extra 5 minutes. So there I was, delayed by the agent for about 15 minutes till that mail pat down came along, and then maybe it was another grand total 10 minutes to get through that process of searching my luggage and my personal orifices. That is a delay that would kill most people, but it didn't me. All it meant was I had 25 or 30 fewer minutes to drink alcohol, that day, in in the United Club. So not a big deal. So my advice is, if you do not want to take off your watch and run it through security, which I would not if I were you, then be in plenty of time to ask for a mail pat down in case you should set off the metal detector, but reduce the metal on your body even if they're not telling you to do so. If they're not complaining about your belt or telling you to take off belts and shoes, take off your belt anyway. And if you have any metal whatsoever in your shoes, take that off as well. If you want a female pat down, someone's asking, what if I want a female pat down? Then you had better be prepared to go through as a transitioning individual, and yeah, I can't help you there. Anyway, that's really all I have to say about this. Just take precautions. I think that it is definitely possible for you to have a problem in security. They cannot monitor and watch the hundreds and thousands of non-sworn personnel that are working their way through airport security. They are not responsible for your loss. So, hey, exercise caution, be careful. That's all I got to say about this. So, in the comments, here's what I would like you guys to do. Tell me, do you take off your watch at airport security? Do you wear it through? And most importantly, have you ever had a problem? Let me know what's going on with that, guys. It's Goldberg signing out. Peace out. Hope you've enjoyed it. See you next time.